let's build a leather holster. Okay, the same customer that wanted the bandolier that I did in a previous video wants a holster for her gun as well. So what I've done here is taken a free PDF plan from Tandy Leather. I'm not sponsored by Tandy Leather. Obviously, I have 3 followers as of May 7th, 2021. I can assure you of that. And what I'm going to do is just simply use this as an example of how you can import an image and scale it in Fusion 360. In this case, there's a couple of measurements on the plan, but there's not any on the actual holster itself that I need the dimensions on. So what I'll do is I'll zoom in here as I'm doing and click on these 2 points, and in this case 6 inches, and you just go to the canvas and right click, and once you're there, there's a calibrate icon you click on, and then you can scale the actual canvas or image that you brought in to Fusion 360. And I found that PDFs, I can't get them to import. Typically I just import a JPEG or convert a PDF to JPEG if I need to. But as you can see, I'm just connecting 2 dots and putting in manually the distance that I can see on the paper, and it disappears, you think, but it really just explodes into a total 2-scale canvas. So now by doing that, I can go back and check another dimension that I have on this particular drawing and make sure it's right, which it is. Now, if you're, say, at a store or something and you like a chair, like you're at Crate and Barrel or Home Depot or something, and you see a lawn chair or a chair that you want to design out of wood or something, you can simply take a picture, and if you have a tape measure on you, even better, or a Coke can or something that you know the dimensions on, you can put it in the shot, take a picture, and pull the dimensions when you get into Fusion 360 of the Coke can, as an example, or the tape measure, which is a better option, and scale the chair instantly, which is a great feature in Fusion 360. So moving on, what I'm doing here is using the spline tool. The spline tool, if you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, which I use for photography and I've used for other things as well. Well, let me be clear here. Adobe Photoshop does not offer this. This is going to be Adobe Illustrator, which is a separate, unfortunately, a program you have to pay as an add-on. But regardless, it's similar, if not the same as that. So what you're going to do is you're going to get these little handlebars at the end, which you'll see, that enable you to tweak the lines perfectly to the design. You can see them right there, actually. In lieu of drawing a straight line, which would be impossible, if not take you years to do, you use what's called these splines, and these will be able to be bent in any direction that you want them to go. Now, I will say it takes a little bit of time getting used to using splines, but once you get used to it, it's pretty efficient and easy to use. So highly recommend messing around with splines and getting used to them, because they come in handy when you're importing images from websites or that you've taken that you want to make a template, whether it be for leather or I guess cloth if you're into cloth, or woodworking. It's great for this. I use it all the time for customers because I don't have leather holsters in this case laying around my house that I can take measurements off of. So again, in this case, this is from Tandy Leather. I could have just printed this and tried to make it work, but there were no measurements besides the ones here at the bottom for the barrel length on this particular file. But this was free from Tandy Leather, so anyone can grab this if they want to use it as an example, or if you're interested, leave me a message or comment and I can sure send you this if you want to practice with it. But the splines are, I can't say enough good things about them. I use them all the time when I'm doing work with leather and importing photos or canvases to make a template. So, and in this case too, I want to say there's no stitch holes on this template. Typically I would add stitch holes, especially if somebody wanted to not only see how I did this, but they want to make the pattern themselves, I could print the PDF and it would have the actual holes in place for them to punch through with their hole punches to get the seams where they need to go. In this case, I know where I want to put the seams, and I don't really see the need to add the holes or a seam allowance or anything for this particular pattern. But in the future, if you want to leave a comment and you would like to see me do that, I can sure show you how I use the pattern on path in lieu of pattern on rectangle feature in Fusion 360 to make stitching patterns in my leather templates. And I'm sure I'll get to that eventually down the road. But you can see me working these splines, getting them pretty accurate. That's an amazing feature to have. But anyway, so once this is done, I'm simply going to extrude this. And even though this is not going into a 3D printer or a CNC machine or anything obviously like that, you have to extrude it, to my knowledge, in Fusion 360 to be able to print a drawing. You can't just print a sketch that I've been able to find. Maybe they've changed that feature over the years, but I have not messed around with it if they have. So I just simply extrude this to the width of the leather that I'll be using, just to give it that look too, in case someone wants to see an idea of what the holster will look like. And you can go further too. You can add joints and make the leather movable and bend it into the actual holster if you want to show someone, a client, what the end result will look like other than just a flat template. But typically in leather, people are okay with just either buying in the templates, or you can give them a template and they can use it to work with. So anyway, pretty easy with splines. Now for the strap slots, I do something a little different. There's several ways to do this in Fusion 360, obviously, but I just simply make a couple of holes and copy them and connect them with lines, and then use the scissor tool to get me these particular slots. And then when I extrude this, these will be obviously cutouts so that someone will know where to mark the leather when they use this template. Okay, now I'm going to extrude this to the proper depth of my leather. Again, it doesn't really matter. You could make this 6 inches deep if you want. It's just going to be a PDF template, but I just like to see kind of what it looks like with the 4 or actually 5 to 6 ounce leather. And you can also, like I just did there, turn off the canvas at any point to give yourself a better idea now of what you're working with now that the canvas is of no use to you. Once you have that, you can simply click on the strap cutouts that you made and extrude those out by cutting them, and you will have a pattern to give someone or to use to make a pistol holster. Now again, this step does not matter, but if you hit A in Fusion 360 and want to give this a little bit of color, there is a leather section, believe it or not. Not a lot to choose from, but you can always import your own appearances online or create your own in like an Adobe Illustrator and add them as you see fit if there's not enough for you here. This is not going to do anything other than aesthetically make it pleasing for myself. It does look similar to leather, kind of cool little feature. And whenever you put it onto a template, if you email someone or sell them a template, you can have it in color on the front page and kind of show them as well. You can add designs to it, how fancy you want to get with it. Basically, you can do. But there you have it. So now all you have to do is convert it to a drawing, which is what is going to give you your PDF. Now, I will say that most people obviously have printers at home that print 8.5 by 11. I do have a larger printer that does print for my large photography stuff, but you don't really need that. One thing you do need to be aware of, though, which I just did the wrong way, is if you click on something that's not big enough, because you want this to be 1:1 scale on a template for the most part. You don't have to, because it will put the scale on the PDF, but people don't want to rescale something you email, or especially if they pay for it, a template. So what you're going to want to do is print this 1:1 scale as to when they print it, they can use it and strap it right to their leather and mark around it and cut it. That being said, you want the biggest sheet of paper you can do in Fusion 360, because even though you have a printer that prints in 8.5 by 11, you can go back to your PDF software. In my case, I use Adobe Acrobat, and you can simply separate out these large sheets into 8.5 by 11 sheets when you go to print them and save them as PDF. So it doesn't really matter how big of a piece of paper you're putting this on in Fusion 360. The larger the better, so that you can do the 1:1 scale and then deal with it later in your PDF program. Anyway, hope you guys liked it. Leave a comment if you did, and I'll try and make some more for both leather and woodworking to give everyone an idea of how I do it. And these will crossover. Leather and woodworking in Fusion 360 are a lot of the same components and stuff are used. So hope you enjoyed. Thanks a lot.